Are you familiar with web push and how it's changing the e-commerce journey for customers? Well, you're going to find out right now on this episode.
Welcome to Ecommerce Revamped, where we break down the hottest trends, insider tips, and strategies shaping the future of e-commerce. Powered by Miva, the engine behind seamless online stores. Now here's your host, Rob Stanley.
Hey everyone, welcome to Ecommerce Revamped again. I've got a great one. We're talking about web push. I'm not too familiar with web push, but we're going to find out a lot and educate ourselves today. And I'm sure if I'm not familiar with it, probably a lot of you are not also. But it is affecting the e-commerce journey, according to Emerson Smith from SYNT. And we're going to bring him into the studio right now and start talking about it. Hey, Emerson, how are you?
Hey, Rob. Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So web push, I am not too familiar with that, or maybe I am, and maybe it's just a new term and it's an old way of doing things. But why don't you help kind of guide us through what exactly are web push notifications?
Sure. Web push notifications, also known as browser-based notifications, are a technology that started about 8 years ago. I got it for the first time sitting at home on my computer from Facebook, which is now Meta. What you're seeing is when you're on your laptop, a lot of times you're going to websites and you're seeing that little box that appears on the top left of the screen, and it's saying this website wants to send you notifications, allow or block. I saw that on Meta and I clicked allow, and nothing happened. I'd never seen that before. And the next day I got a notification on the bottom right of my computer that came up and it said, hey, this person that was a friend on Meta added a photo or something like that. And I wasn't on Facebook at the time. So my previous experience, I built an ESP or an email service provider system. And so coming from that world, I couldn't believe there was a technology like that. I was sitting there and I was like, okay, so they have a simple allow option, and now they can send a notification anytime I'm online, even when I'm not on their website. With no deliverability issues, it shows as soon as you're online, and you can send an image and you can direct them wherever you want. And I was just amazed that that technology was available, and I looked for it in order to add it to some consumer-facing websites that I have, and there really wasn't anything available at the time. So I built it, and the rest, as they say, is history. My primary business is a company called Pushnami. It's not a plug or anything like that, but we launched that technology from beta. We quickly saw results of a 30% increase in visitors from our websites by adding this technology. Our clients started asking, how did you do this? They asked if they could try it. And then it quickly took off when we productized it. Pushnami now powers 5,000 websites globally for browser-based push notifications. It's delivering over 1 billion notifications a day. And it's become a very ancillary technology for a lot of our clients that were outside of e-commerce at the time, powering websites like Newsweek and cars.com, all kinds of major websites where they're adding it to their wheelhouse of not only email, SMS, things like that. You also need push in order to be at the top level if you're using all the tools available to you.
I love that. So I have seen that actually. So I definitely gone to website. I've seen that notification pop up. Was not aware that was called like a web push. But I could see how that could be an advantage, especially to an e-commerce seller. Why don't you step us through a little bit of, I'm sure as an e-commerce seller myself previously, I'd want to know what the limitations are. What can I push through there? What I can't push through there? And, there's got to be some rules around it, right?
Not really. It's very similar to like email and SMS, except with browser-based push, because it's a one-to-one encrypted handshake. So you have to click allow, and that's the only way that browser-based push will work. It makes an encrypted handshake between that person's device and the website. So unlike with like email and SMS, you could have that data stolen, right? Like you could grab a database of phone numbers or emails, and then somebody nefariously could start sending them messages. That's not possible with browser-based push. You have to have that encrypted handshake. So because the technology is just so next level and it can't be stolen or anything like that, you get the added benefit of unlimited trust and deliverability. So it is 100% deliverability. The person can opt out at any time, which stops the notification, which really gives you the ability to send whatever you want. And so the only rules outside of that would just be legalities of, content and things like that, which has never been an issue for us. So when you're talking about particularly e-commerce, it gives you a really wide berth of what you can send. You can get really creative. But the ancillary of that is that you want to be respectful of your consumers and not be annoying, be providing them value there.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's great information to know because, it's almost like they've opted into a newsletter, right? But an instant newsletter almost.
Right.
So it sounds like you could do things like if you have a new product announcement, you could push that out. Hey, this newsletter is available or something's back in stock. How deep can you go? So when it comes to allowing, clicking the allow button for the web push, if they do it at the front of the website, do you know that they clicked on it at the front of the website? Or maybe if they went into a product, do you know like, hey, they went in this product and hit allow? So maybe you could target them with just that product?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the power of having really good technology on top of a modern messaging system like browser-based push. So you not only know where they opted in on the website, but you can then append all the information you have about them if they are currently a subscriber in another way. But things, not only did they buy a product, if they added it to the cart, but you also know if they looked at a product. And when you start powering that with AI and machine learning, you can very easily absorb all that information and you create what's called a NoSQL or a record where typically when you're looking at consumers' information, you think about it as a row in a database. And so like, here's this subscriber, here's the information you have. But with modern technology, it's more like having a Word document for that subscriber that can hold unlimited information and not slow down when you're using modern technology. And so you can use all of that with machine learning and AI to create an ideal view of what that consumer is and what they're looking for, and then layer it with all of your information together on your website. So you can say, oh, this is the best time to send to this person. This is what they're looking for. This is the product they're most likely going to be interested in, along with all the traditional things like, well, we want to promote this product because we really like it. We want to offer discounts on this, all that kind of things to increase sales.
Yeah. Emerson, is there a scheduling feature in web push by any chance?
Absolutely. It's all the things you can imagine with email and that sort of thing. So you could say, send it now. You can say, send it to only people that have bought a product in the last 30 days. You can send it to people that haven't bought a product in the last 60 days. You can schedule it for Christmas or Thanksgiving or Hanukkah, whatever you want. All of that is available to be done in web push, just like you can do for email.
That's excellent. I could see that being a benefit. Just giving a weird example. If I sold, let's say, electric toothbrushes, and I wanted to have like a subscribe and save type scenario of, get new heads for the toothbrush, maybe every 30 days or something like that. I could basically, if I see somebody goes and buys that electric toothbrush and signs up for my subscribe and save, or maybe they didn't, I could be like, hey, reminder, this, you need to replace your toothbrush. And it sounds like once you've allowed that, it starts popping up on your desktop of your computer. Is it desktop specific, like Mac or PC, or does it do both and doesn't matter?
It does both. It also is available on mobile as well. You typically see it a lot more on Android than you do on iPhone. iPhone requires a different type of permission, but it does power on all of them. And with every release of iOS, we see them moving towards browser-based push notification technology. So we feel like, in the coming future, it will open up that half of the mobile market as well. And sometimes you could argue the more affluent half as well.
Yeah, I love that.
one of the things also to follow up on that, Rob, is like you're thinking in the right ways, though, of like creative ways to do that. And that's one of the things that we've identified that we call automations. And when somebody opts into push, just like when they opt into SMS or email, you really want to think about what is the most valuable time to get them. And the most valuable time to get them is actually while they're actively engaged, and then further if they're actively engaged on your website. So one of the strategies we use in it are welcome messages. So a welcome message, they opt in, you say, thank you for subscribing, or we appreciate you subscribing. Here's 10% off your first order, right? So that gets them right in that mode where they're there now. The next would be ones that are very well known, which is cart abandon, right? They added an item to their cart. When we do that for a consumer, it is, okay, they've added this item to the cart, now they've bounced. So you try to get them, then you put them into a drip sequence where you say, okay, do we get them to come back? All right, they haven't come back, try offering them 5%. All right, they haven't come back, try offering 10 in order to get them to go. And then with our technology, we can do some more powerful things. So cart abandonment, we already all know in e-commerce is very important. What we have is browse abandonment. Browse abandonment means they looked at the item. They didn't add it to their cart, but they looked at them. We still put them in a drip campaign the same way. And that's actually much more effective than cart abandonment, because browse abandonment happens to us all. We are busy people. There's a lot of distractions going on. We're looking at something, so we're obviously interested in it. You know, your kids are screaming, you've got to go, that sort of thing. So you forget. And so you can put them in the drip. And then an even more powerful feature that we found to be even the most effective is called product recommendation engine. And that is taking all the items that they bought, all the items that they put in their cart, and all the items that they've looked at, mashing that down and then overlaying it with all of those things, with all the data of your e-commerce website, and then sending them a recommendation, for example, once a week saying, here's a product we think you might like. You have an image of that product, and that really takes off for people because that's an automated process for us where we're absorbing all the information, sending these automated messages, and showing them products that they're genuinely going to be interested in with a very high degree of confidence.
I love that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, though, let's talk a little bit about maybe some mistakes people are making when it comes to web push, other than not using web push. But let's talk a little bit about maybe, you talked about some great tactics on using it. Maybe what are the mistakes people are doing when they are using it, right after this commercial break.
Ready to revamp your online store? Miva's e-commerce platform offers powerful tools and flexible solutions that grow with your business. From design to checkout, Miva has you covered. Don't just sell, stand out. Check out miva.com/podcast to start building your dream store today.
Head on over to miva.com/podcast. Check out the resource page. And there's lots of great stuff there. Of course, we're redoing that web page all the time and updating it. So listen, everyone, I got Emerson Smith on from SYNT. We're talking about web push and how it's affecting the e-commerce journey, especially for customers. Right before the break, I was asking about, we got some great tips on, actually before the break, on how to use web push. But let's talk about what some of the mistakes are. Let's say when people first start out with web push, what are some of the mistakes that they're making, Emerson, when it comes to web push, other than not using it?
Well, as my wife can tell you, I can talk about web push for hours. I'm not going to subject you, find people to that, but I will tell you some ones that are important, but also are kind of funny to me. And the main one is that it's very interesting in trying to teach people how to use web push that are decision makers, because decision makers are usually, very computer savvy, a lot of times tech savvy, and they're just a different type of consumer. And so they're thinking about themselves, and they're not putting themselves into a general like US or online consumer mode. So one of the things I constantly get a lot of like CEOs and things like, they're like, well, I don't ever opt into push notifications. And I'm like, well, yes, I understand that. I don't either a lot of times, other than I love push, so I do it. But you're not the typical American consumer. A typical American consumer does click on advertisements. They do like to see things over and over. They trust reviews. things like that. And so you have to put yourself in that mentality. And so that's why often they're like, well, I don't think anybody will opt into push. I don't like it. I don't want to ever opt into those. And then we show them that they have a 20% opt-in rate on their website, which is much higher adoption than email or SMS. And they're saying, well, that's amazing. I never would have thought that happened. So I'd say that's the biggest mistake, is saying, this technology won't work for my consumer, or I don't like this, so it won't work. Another one is, they get very worried about annoying people, and they say, well, I don't want to send it this often because it's going to bother our consumers, without understanding how prolific push notifications are on desktop and mobile. For example, my desktop has gotten numerous push notifications on the top right, even while I've been doing this podcast. It's telling me appointments that are happening. It's telling me things from Apple that it wants me to know. And there's a few web pages too. And in my phone, it's even more prolific. If you look at like New York Times, they are sending 20 push notifications a day. If you look at Meta, they are sending 20 notifications a day. You're stacking that on. So you actually need to be a bit more aggressive than you think to get those eyeballs, because you're getting that notification to the person when they are logging on their computer or when they are opening their phone. That's when it's hitting them. That's why it's so powerful. But I think you need to realize that a lot of people are very aggressive. People are getting hundreds of notifications a day. So don't be shy about sending a little bit harder than you think.
Emerson, so that was great information. When it comes to push, web push, is there any sort of metrics you can look at to kind of see what's going on? You did mention, scheduling and stuff like that. So maybe help us a little bit with the back end. And is there a way to track ROI on this?
Oh, absolutely. Everything tracks right down to the dollar amount, particularly in e-commerce. When we're looking at metrics, all that matters to our e-commerce clients are revenue. That's what they want to see. And you can put that in a lot of different metrics. You could do a CPM, so cost per thousand sent. You could do it, revenue per click if you wanted to. But really, what we're looking at is how much revenue did we generate for that client each day and how many sales. And that's really what matters there. When you're outside of e-commerce, there's a lot of different other things. But when, just like having a store, at the end of the day, what's going to pay your bill? Not how many people came into the store, but how many people actually purchased. And so that is what our AI system focuses on. We're trying to maximize the amount of revenue you are generating, not even the number of sales, but revenue.
This feels almost like a replacement for email marketing, but is it, or is it something that should go along with email marketing?
No, it is ancillary. It's email is a great tool. SMS is a great tool. Web-based push is a great tool. You should be using all three of those together. They should be working and speaking to each other. That is certainly what our system does for our clients. It integrates with the entire database. And if you're not, you're falling behind because your competitors are. It'd be like not using email. You could choose to have an e-commerce system and not use email, but why would you do that? You'll generate more sales, you'll get more customer interaction. And then why would you not do SMS? You should. And it's the same thing with web-based push. You should be adding these to your toolbox.
It sounds like web push is sort of a new thing. I mean, somewhat new thing, even though, email and SMS have been around a long time. This is almost just a different way of doing that. And it also sounds like it's developing kind of as we go with different, technology and stuff like that. What have you seen on kind of what is the future, or maybe tools or parts of the web push that will be something that's coming up that people should keep an eye on?
Well, I talked before about iOS. iOS right now, Apple is very protective of people having this much power on iPhones. They want people to buy apps instead. And that's the cool thing about web-based push, is you get all of the ability to send push notifications without having someone to required to download apps. And we've seen this, all of us, that people are going less and less away from downloading apps. On average, somebody will use between 7 or 10 apps a day on their phone. They're not interested in downloading a new app for every single store. And so you get this power with that. And then if once iOS opens up I think it creates a huge boost in technology. So if you have this down right now for both desktop and Android, once iOS opens, you're going to see your sales skyrocket like that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Emerson, could you tell us, I always love to hear about a story about maybe a client. You don't have to give any names or anything like that. Could you give us maybe a story of how somebody used Web Push, what kind of success they saw, and maybe a little strategy of what they did to be successful with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our clients are very low bandwidth, whether it's a Fortune 1000 or, somebody operating an e-commerce store out of their garage. All of them are low bandwidth when it comes to digital messaging. And it's inevitable, regardless of how big or small they are, when you do it. And I think of Foster MFG, which is a really funny one that has been a great client for us, that they didn't think it was going to work. And I didn't even know, because they're not a typical e-commerce where it's not like they're selling fishing lures or, wooden dolls or something like that. They sell industrial parts for large, like factories, like breweries and things like that, where you need like 100 parts of some kind of nozzle. And they inevitably are like, how are we supposed to do this? We don't even have the bandwidth to manage our own email. How are we supposed to learn a new technology? And that's where I think having the right web push partner is really important, because you want it to be very automated and very low requirements for your team. Everyone's already super busy. So we tell them, like, look, let's just give it a shot. Okay. It's free to try. It's completely automatic. We can talk to you about all of the settings and what it's going to look like. You approve, and then let's just give it a shot. And they have actually been one of the biggest success stories we've seen this year. They are doing tens of thousands of dollars in additional sales with Web Push without having to do any work at all. And so they turned this technology, they use Miva, and it was a 30-second install. They just actually asked their Miva rep, can you help us install this? We said, okay. And it was 30-second install. They started collecting subscribers. It started rolling in. And by the end of the month, the sales started automating. We were sending welcome messages. We were sending browse abandonment, cart abandonment, and then product recommendation engine has been their most successful in just sending recommended parts for these people. And sometimes they will do literally 1,000 unit sales using Web Push. So great success story for them. We're looking at, 6 figures in additional sales per year, hopefully. And it took them 5 minutes.
Wow. That's a great success story. What an interesting product. Not something that's a everyday type product or a usual type thing, right? We're not talking, hair care products or something like that, which we don't need, but something crazy, right? That's really cool. Emerson, before we kind of wrap up and talk more about SYNT, I do want to ask you, is there anything else that e-commerce sellers should know about Web Push and how that could help them? Is something we missed maybe?
I think it's just super easy. It seems intimidating because it's a new technology, and when I say newer, I mean 8 years, which is forever in internet terms. But it can be intimidating, and you can worry about how's this going to do, and is it going to interfere with anything? But really, if you have the right partner, it can be extremely easy and really quick lift for you. We typically see after 30 days, 7 to 10% boost in sales for our clients, and across a variety of different e-commerce types. So I encourage you to try it and make sure you have a good partner that can really automate it, and you'll see really good results.
I love that. Tell everybody about SYNT, how you guys started, what kind of service you offer, what platforms that's available on, and then we'll obviously tell them where the website is and how to get a hold of you.
Well, look, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I started my first tech company when I was 23, when I moved to New York with a laptop and a few $1,000. And it's been a great adventure. And like I said before, my previous company was an ESP or email service provider, and I did that successfully, and it's still in operation. So I'm really proud of that. and I talked in the beginning about how I first came across the push technology, and we started a company called Pushnami. Pushnami has been a huge success. We did not focus on e-commerce at all. Pushnami is designed for companies getting at least 500,000 page views a month, if not more. So very large sites that need extremely high volume, very quick. So if you think news sites, it needs to be whoever gets you that news first. When something prolific happens like a flood, you don't care where it comes from. And that's where we built there, and that's been a huge successful venture. What we did with SYNT is start over from the ground up and really focus on just e-commerce. So Miva was our first partner. We expanded to Shopify after that, and we tried to do all of the amazing things we learned by being the leader of push and give it to the hands of e-commerce. So amazing automation, integrating AI to take all of the heavy work, so you're sending an individualized message. So even if you have 100,000 subscribers, each individual message going out will be customized to that individual to maximize your performance. And again, we wanted to make it all automated too. So our clients are welcome to send out messages that they want, that we call a manual, or schedule in advance. But the vast majority just let the system go, and they ask us to make changes or help them or that sort of thing. But beyond that, it is very much a set it and forget it kind of thing, because that's what a lot of our clients want.
Listen, any e-commerce seller out there that's looking for that slight edge, this is it. This is exactly what we're talking about, doing the web push. Go check out SYNT. Tell everybody the website name, the email, how they get a hold of you guys. I'll put it up on the screen.
Sure. SYNT, SYNT, very clever domain name.
I love it.
Cost a lot less than the SENT, I'm sure. And sales@synt.com is great. But if you want to go on the website, that's fine. Go right in. You can also find us on the app stores. If you're with Miva, you could definitely do it through their website, but I recommend just reaching out to your customer sales rep and just say, hey, I want to install SYNT, because we can work with them to get it done for you in about 3 to 5 minutes, unless you want to go through the process yourself, which you're welcome to do. Same thing with Shopify. It's just in the App Store. You click on it, you can install, and everything is free to try. We give you a complete free trial to prove the system will work. We haven't lost anybody yet. Miva has been a great partnership for us. They've been fantastic. We were a gold sponsor at Camp Miva this year. So really excited to continue to expand the partnership.
Absolutely. Emerson, great information. It's so funny. I never knew what that allow and decline meant, and what I was actually doing when I'm allowed. So now I know to allow some of them. I was just declining all of them. Didn't realize what it was.
Not a typical
I'm going to definitely have to allow. Yeah. I'm probably the normal guy, right? That's doing that. But now that I'm aware, and there's ones that I want to, make sure they get a hold of me or follow up with them or learn more about them, depending on how they're using it. Hopefully they're using it correctly. And if they're not, they need to be watching this podcast and getting a hold of you. So great information, Emerson. Really appreciate it. SYNT.com. Be sure to reach out, check it out. And then it's sales@SYNT.com if you guys want to reach out and hear more information. I'm sure Emerson's all over social media. So look up Emerson Smith, SMITH. And, thank you so much, Emerson, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And some excellent information. Everybody go out there, check out SYNT, and be sure to listen to our next episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ron.
Thanks for tuning in to E-Commerce Revamped. Ready to take your e-commerce business to the next level? Visit Miva.com for the tools to build seamless online stores and unforgettable customer experiences. Until next time, keep your carts full and your customers happy.